Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's conversation with climate change reporter Liz McLaughlin, we're talking about how eating more beans can make the world a better place. Yes, I said eating more beans. So Beans is How is a global push to double bean consumption by 2028. Why? Because they're affordable, they're nutritious, and it takes a fraction of the greenhouse gases to produce beans compared to other protein sources. Liz, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Here to make beans sexy.
There you go. And, maybe some moms are going to be telling their kids at the dinner table, hey, you got to eat beans, and here's why. So eating beans to tackle the climate crisis, it sounds a little bit odd. Tell me the thinking behind this campaign, Beans is How.
Who knew beans could save the world, right? It does sound funny, but when you dig in, this really is a simple, practical way that all of us can help combat the overwhelming and often intangible climate change crisis. So, how can we mitigate greenhouse gases, solve world hunger? Beans is How is what these people say. That's the name of the movement, and it's backed by a host of environmental organizations, including like Bezos Earth Fund and Google's food advocacy arm. Beans are yummy, they're healthy, they're cheap, and it's one of the planet's most sustainable protein sources. So you mentioned it emits a fraction of the greenhouse gases of other proteins, including eggs, seafood, dairy, meat, even grains. Beans also require less water and land. So the idea is if we eat more beans, peas, and legumes in our diet, that we'll eat less of other foods that require more resources to make. It's a different approach than, say, the push for veganism, wanting everyone to become a vegan tomorrow. It's just not realistic, right? But it's pretty easy for most people to just add some more beans to their diet, and that small change could make a big difference.
And when we're talking about the environmental benefits of beans, compare, if you will, the production of beans, for example, to the production of meat.
So some calculations show replacing beef with beans translates to a 75% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And when you look at land use, more than a quarter of the world's terrestrial surface is being used for livestock. Cattle require about 20 times more land than beans for an equivalent gram of protein. A complete shift from beef to bean consumption in the U.S. would free up as much as 40% of cropland. There's a housing crisis right now. That sounds like a lot of land people could live on. And beans actually help soil health, too, because their roots contain nitrogen. So that means using less fertilizer, and that's less runoff that can impact water quality.
So there are nutritional benefits, and there are also benefits in terms of your wallet. We all see our grocery bills going up. So I'm imagining, in addition to being healthy, beans can help you save money?
Yeah, that's right. And they really are a powerhouse of nutrition, heart healthy and, very economical. Most beans contain only 2% to 3% fat, no cholesterol. They even help you lower your cholesterol because they have so much fiber and help you feel fuller longer because of that. About 20% protein, and they're high in complex carbs. They're also rich in B vitamins and iron, so really good for you. And I don't know about you, but my grocery bill has been insane recently.
It is. I always go, what did I buy? What did I buy?
Yeah, I heard about this campaign last year from the director at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, and I made an effort since then to eat more beans, and I have really noticed a difference in my grocery bill. We see inflation in a lot of food categories, but beans are pretty affordable.
They're holding fast.
Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, it's also made me lose weight.
Oh, there you go. Another a good side effect there. So we will be back after the break. We're going to go deeper into some delicious ways to incorporate beans into your next meal. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So you might not think of fine dining when you think of beans, but part of this campaign is highlighting bean dishes at high-end restaurants across the country. So tell us about a restaurant you visited in Raleigh, and what is the chef cooking up with beans?
So I don't know if you've been there. It's called Mandolin in 5 Points. Have you ever been?
I have. It's very good. Yes.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
So for those who haven't, it's a creative twist on Southern fare, and actually went there for my wedding anniversary before this story. But I was able to sit down with the chef there, Sean Fowler, who's doing really cool things. Everything is locally sourced. They even have their own farm where they grow a lot of crops for the restaurant, and their menu changes with the season, so with what's fresh and local. And he prepared some dishes that use beans for me to try. Do you like hummus?
I do. Yes.
I'm a big hummus fan. I eat it a lot. He made a hummus with black-eyed peas.
Oh, okay.
And it gave it this richness that I really love, maybe even more than the chickpea version, actually. Herbs in there really gave it a lot of flavor. He also made a spicy dal, so that's with, but he used field peas instead of lentils, and tomatoes, so that's kind of a curry flavor over basmati rice, and butter beans. He uses those a lot in dishes, but instead of cooking them with something like pork fat, he used umami seaweed, gave it a really savory flavor, and I was really surprised to see the depth of flavor in these dishes and how versatile beans can be. Even seen it in desserts, believe it or not. Sounds weird, but it's better than it sounds. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of creative things going on with beans if you know where to find the recipes. So what are some easy ways for people at home who are not chefs to incorporate these into their diets?
We can't all be Sean Fowler, but the hummus he made is actually super easy. You just basically throw things in a food processor. So, and there's tons of recipes online. If you have a food processor, you can even make it any flavor you like, tangy, spicy. I'm a convenience person. I really like grab and go. I like things that are easy, that don't make a mess. Black bean quesadillas are a staple because you can make a few whenever you make them for dinner, and they heat up really nice for lunch.
Right.
And I also love, Progresso has this lentil soup just in a can, and it's so good. But I pour it over rice, put a little pepper jack, hot sauce, boom, Tupperware to take to work. So there's just a lot of different things, and it's not just beans, maybe you're like, I don't like kidney beans or something like that.
You can mix them with things.
Right. Chickpeas, we're talking, green beans. There's all sorts of options.
Like I said, I think some moms are going to be playing this podcast for their kids, at dinner time about when they serve beans. So, okay, I got to ask the question. A lot of people think beans give you gas. Is that something that is true, or is that an old wives' tale?
So I spoke with a nutritionist about this, and there are some myths floating around there that might give people some hesitancy around beans. I know, it's just kind of one of those funny phrases you hear as a kid. But if you don't eat a lot of fiber in your diet right now and start eating a ton of beans, you might experience some gas when you
might change
first incorporate
some of your
it.
systems there. Yeah.
Right. But not getting enough fiber isn't healthy. And as you eat more, you can incorporate it slowly too. Maybe you don't have to switch to all beans all the time at once.
Sure.
Then your system will adjust, and it's really not a big difference for most people. Our guts also have this microbiome. It's really important for health, and that prevents a lot of not fun side effects. So really, most people with healthy diets that include beans won't have
a problem with
gas.
them. Well, you have laid out a great case for beans. Liz, thank you so much for breaking this down for us. Please take a minute and give us a 5-star rating in Apple Podcasts. Your rating and review will help our listeners find the show. We appreciate it. As always, thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download.